Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm back. So today I would love to speak about a subject that I love and that has been dear to my journey in this human experience. I want to talk about something that, it makes some people uncomfortable. Some people think it's a little woo-woo. But honestly, that's usually when people get uncomfortable, it's usually when I'm doing something right. So that's a good sign for me. There's this idea that has been circling in my body, in my experience, like I said, as a human being. And for a very long time. And the more I sat with it, the more it became very clear. And that's why I also wrote a book about it. It is called Igniting the Dragon. And this is the biggest, one of the biggest secrets that patriarchy, especially the church and other hypermasculine, shadow masculine control systems have tried to erase from our consciousness. And it's not about heaven or hell. It is about women. And especially, more specifically, women as a power source. The main powerhouse of life itself and the connection to source. We all know women give birth. That's a given. But the true secrets of this basic truth and reality has been distorted and demonized and reduced to something so small and insignificant when it's really the most significant thing for us as humanity. Women are dragons. Yes, I said that. Women are the dragons. Not metaphorically in like a cute way, not in a personality trait. That's not what I mean. Not as a fantasy. I mean in a deep, symbolic, biological, sexual, spiritual way. And once you see it, you can't really unsee it anymore. Again, you can go to my book, Igniting the Dragon. It's one of my shortest books, but it's very powerful. I wrote it for the Year of the Dragon 2024 to really help people also connect to the dragon energy. And I did it in such a simple way. I took all the esoteric, complex explanations and made them so simple so that everyone can connect with the dragon energy in everyday life. And I also made it really fun. Because once we connect to that subconsciously, our subconscious remembers the truth when we do these simple external practices and understand it in a more conscious way. So anyway, read it. It's really, really interesting. So let's think about all the myths we grew up with. All the stories, right? The dragon slaying stories, the hero stories, the man with the sword, he's got a monster to kill, he's got a woman to rescue, right? Same story, different costumes. We're told that and these stories are about good defeating evil, right? Like good being the hero and the evil being the dragon. But what if they're not? What if they're stories about destroying memory? Because if you look closely, the dragon is never just chaos. Like they're trying to show the dragon symbol creature as. The dragon guards something. In every story, the dragon guards something. Whether it's a treasure or a threshold or a sacred space or their baby, right, their egg. Historically, the thing that needed guarding was feminine power, was the womb. The womb is literally the greatest treasure and most sacred space in our existence. I'm going to say that again. The womb, which is inside the body of a woman, it is literally the most powerful and sacred space in our existence. So, the dragon wasn't the enemy. She was sovereign. And the hero, so-called, wasn't saving the world from the dragon. He was enforcing a new order while trying to submit or completely destroy the dragon, which is the woman or the feminine energy. So again, the dragon wasn't the enemy, okay? We really want to shift that narrative and that story because that's going to make a huge difference in our subconscious mind and in our collective mind. So a woman who knows she's powerful, sexual, sovereign, initiatory, she cannot be controlled. And that's not what the dark forces want. So let's go even further back to the Garden of Eden story. This story has been used for thousands of years, and I talked about it in many videos before, to blame women for everything. And by the way, I go deep about it in my book, The Sex Priestess Manual. I go into very deep esoteric things in that book as well. That's my biggest book. It's a huge book, The Sex Priestess Manual. So if you want to dive into that. Not for everyone, for sure. The story has been used for thousands of years to blame women for everything, for the fall of men, right? For everything that's wrong in the world, let's blame the women. But look at it honestly. The serpent brings knowledge, awareness, consciousness. And who reaches for it? It wasn't Adam. It was Eve. She wasn't tempted or weak like they tried to portray her. She wasn't like this simple-minded creature, a stupid creature. No, she was actually curious enough to awaken and to evolve. So that moment where she bit the apple, so to speak, was not the fall of men. It was the first initiation of humankind. And we, truthfully, we failed. And the punishment that followed wasn't this divine justice from God or something like that. It was a backlash. Because if women remembered that the first human to choose consciousness was a woman, the entire moral hierarchy collapses in all our collective psyche. So now let's talk about the body, because this is not abstract. The female body is not random. She has 2 ovaries holding the potential for life, a serpentine fallopian tubes, a womb designed to hold darkness, pressure, blood, creation. It is pure alchemy. The womb is literally the embodiment of alchemy itself. Women bleed without dying every month. That alone should tell you something. Death and rebirth is not theoretical for women. It is embodied in their nature. They don't even have to do anything for that. And historically, that terrifies systems built on linear control, because a woman who understands cycles cannot be convinced that destruction is evil. She knows it's part of creation, and she knows she is the one holding that power. So before sexual shame, and before this idea of sin narrative, the sinful narrative, and obedience was moralized, there were priestesses. And no, they are not victims or prostitutes in the modern sense. A lot of people today, because the priestess archetype is rising in a lot of women, the dark forces, by the way, they've also infiltrated the spiritual community. I've said this for years. And so you see also the shadow part and lies and distortion within spiritual teachers. But these priestesses, they were not prostitutes. Okay? My sex magic school of Isis and Lilith, I study in the other dimension where my sisters are, the sex priestesses. And there is a reason that we're called sex priestesses, but it's not because we have sex with everyone. It's not prostitution. It is so much more beyond what the human consciousness is able to grasp at this point, because humans have lowered themselves into such a distorted and small kind of window that they can see through. And even in my hundreds of pages in my books, it's really, I can't even describe the true meaning and power of what a sex priestess is, but we'll get there. So these priestesses were initiators. Now, men didn't enter our temples to take. They entered the temple to be transformed. Sex was not recreation or fun or sinful in the days of the true priestesses. It was a technology initiated by them to men, and also to other women sometimes, to remain in the purest form that we humans can be. And that kept us powerful, loving, kind, and free as a human race. So, and again, I speak about this in a few of my books that I speak about the world of the temple and the dimension of the temple. We lived in a completely different dimension. It was pure heaven. Sex was consciousness altering. It dissolved any false identity and always burned any layers of ego from oneself. And the priestess always held the power and the wisdom and the knowledge. Now, when patriarchy took over, what I call the shadow masculine force, and I write about it in, again, a few of my books. If you want to really read about the fall of the temple story, read The Last Priestess. It's my last memories of the day of the temple and how it fell because of Solomon, which is not a good guy. So you can read all about it then. They couldn't erase, these dark masculine forces could not erase sexual power. You can't erase light, right? But what you can do is to distort it and to use it and to use inverted magic, which again, I speak about a lot in all my videos. It's too fundamental, but they inverted it and distorted it. That's what they can do, because they can't actually destroy it. They made women afraid of their own desire. They turned sacred fire and life force into shame, something shameful. How crazy and horrific. And once you understand what I just said, they taught women to outsource their power. And that really brought to the fall of all of humans, not just women, because when women lose, everyone loses. When women are in their power, everyone is in their power. Because a sexually sovereign woman is ungovernable. And she also makes sure that everyone stays free as well. I'm going to just repeat something because, again, this is something basic I explained for years now. The feminine force, the feminine energy as a nature, in its nature, she's a container, she's a vessel. She holds everyone and everything. She holds all life. She can contain all life within her. The masculine is this one point of attraction, a channel of light, and he can only contain himself. And so even when you see it in the shadow side, when a man has power, he can only contain himself. He can only see himself and experience himself. When a woman can experience everything. When she's in her tribe, she can experience what the elderly is feeling and what the children are feeling and what her sisters and brothers are feeling. She can contain everyone's energy. And when she's free, everyone is free. When the masculine is free, it's only he is free. So he doesn't really care about anyone else. And that's why it's more easy for the masculine to fall into his shadow and his ego. Of course, feminine falls into her ego as well, and of course women do that as well, but it is a little bit it's a lot more difficult. Like, she would have to be completely disconnected from her soul, while a man just needs a little bit of his shadow sides to take over, and that's it. Again, this is hours of conversation. I'm trying to kind of just explain the basics of the feminine and masculine, so you'll understand that in a world that the feminine is free, everyone is free. So this is important to understand, because unlike the lie that religions have told us that a woman came out of a man's rib, which is the most ridiculous thing, that she is his counterpart or helper in a sort of way, the feminine does not complete the masculine. Absolutely not. She's the entire universe on her own. She destroys what isn't real. That is the job of the feminine for the masculine. Like, she will come. That's why a conscious woman, most men are terrified of her. Like, they fall in love with her, but they're terrified, and they will demonize her and make her the bad and the witch and the evil one eventually, because she basically burned and destroyed all of their shadows and mirrored their shadows in a way that no other person or thing ever did. So, story of my life, really. So that's why the dragon breathes fire, right? Going back to the dragon. Why people don't see, and what even so-called spiritual teachers, especially today in the spiritual field, the sexuality field, the tantra field, they rarely say that is that sacred sexuality isn't about pleasure, and it's about transformation. It is about the transformation of the soul. And again, a lot of tantric teachers, they're stuck on the physical. Oh, let's do some physical practices to have better orgasms. That's not what a true sacred union is all about. It's a bonus. It comes naturally when you're having a sacred union and when you're having spiritual sex, but it's not the core purpose of it. So ego, illusions, and lies cannot survive the true sexual power of a human being. And men who are genuinely transformed by true divine feminine power are very hard to turn into soldiers and slaves or obedient followers, right? So you can't have mercenaries and soldiers in a world where men are free to be who they are because they're inspired by the true divine feminine. They won't fight. They will only fight if they need to protect their people, not in order to destroy or kill something else. With just blind obedience to any external dark entity or person. So the connection had to be cut. The connection between women and their own power had to be cut first. And then the connection between men and women had to be cut, which, again, the dark forces have done a very good job at. This is why women, we were called witches and evil and serpents and snakes and Liliths and dragons and all that. Not because we were dangerous, but because we were free. And that is dangerous to the dark forces. So we were dangerous to the dark forces, still are. And this is the thing. You cannot kill a dragon. You can only make her forget who she is. Okay. So now what's happening is that women are remembering, and women are reconnecting to their bodies, their desires, their boundaries, their sacred blood, and their natural wisdom. They're no longer asking for permission to exist, to be loud, to be sexual, to be truthful, and who they really are. And that's why this backlash is so intense right now, and we see it very clearly for those who have the eyes to see, because this isn't a trend. This is an actual it's a return to our true essence and our true power. So if you've ever felt like you were too much, like too intense, too sexual, too emotional, too wild, too powerful, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because you were never meant to be small. You were never meant to be saved. You were never meant to be tamed. You are not the maiden waiting for the hero. You are the one guarding the treasure. You are the actual powerhouse. You are the fire and the treasure and the cave all together. You are the threshold. You are the dragon. You are life. We are life, sister. And that's exactly why they're afraid of you. So I hope that I was able to inspire something inside of you, both in men and women who are watching this. And I truly hope that we will once again remember who we really are and come back home, come back to source, and create endless sacred unions together, because that, I know in my soul, is what's going to save the world and save humanity. True sacred union and all that it means, all that it embodies. Thank you so much. Check out my books, check out my initiations, and I'm going to also create a few different classes for my online school this year. So stay tuned. Sign up to my list, my mailing list on my website. You can download a free ebook and be a part of my list. I don't send a lot of emails, but when there's news, you will receive them. And I love you so much. I will pray that the mother will rise in all of us once more. Thank you. Please subscribe, like, and share so I can continue making these videos and share the work of the temple. And may the goddess bless you all.